I am Quinton Fortune. I love Green Turf. Watch Green Turf every Tuesday and Thursday at 5:30 with Divine.
Hi folks, and thanks once again for hanging around as we pursue our weekly business of keeping you in the know about up-to-the-minute happenings from Cameroon's world of sports. You are not mistaken, this is Green Turf, our weekly attempt to bring you up to speed on the latest trickles from within and without Cameroon's world of sports. Here we go! Once upon a long time ago, football was synonymous to a religion across Cameroon, and players of the national team were revered almost as demigods. Original players' jerseys were hotcakes, and businessmen quickly pounced on the opening to mass flood the markets with imitations of the Lions regalia. Ever since, doing business around the team has expanded even beyond Cameroon's borders. And so the vexing failure by the four-time African champions to book a ticket for South Africa 2013 amounts to huge frustration for advertisers, media organs, sports gear dealers, betting companies, and even beer vendors.
La non-qualification de Lyon a un impact très négatif.
Effectively, the non-qualification of the Lions has a very negative impact at our level. And it is also felt by the big companies, because if we qualified, people will be filled with joy, and even taxi drivers, bar owners, hotels, every business will flourish. And so the non-qualification is really bad for business. And those managing our football should take note, because if not, then it means they don't love this country.
De prendre en compte les doléances du petit peuple.
Plans to construct an ultra-modern football stadium in Douala ahead of the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations have witnessed a modification. Initially due erection at Boang Bakoko on the city's outskirts, the 50,000 capacity facility has been relocated to Japoma. According to officials at the Ministry of Sports, the project was transferred from its previously retained site following complaints over the massive nature of the Boang Bakoko location raised by the contractor, the China Machinery and Equipment Company. And so the decision to move the project to Japoma is intended to reduce cost of digging. Meantime, the construction of another 60,000 capacity stadium at Olembe in Yaoundé, baptized the Grand Stade Paul Biya, will go ahead as planned. The Chinese contractors will build training grounds, gyms and playgrounds for other sporting disciplines around both stadia. Additional reports indicate the project will rumble off once the government validates budgets furnished by the contractors. The decision to relocate the Douala Stadium project comes as a big blow to investors who had rushed to buy land at Boang Bakoko for the erection of lodging facilities in time for the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. Over the past 3 years, the practice of rugby across Cameroon has been, by and large, epileptic. Meanwhile, last year's election of Jean-Daniel Likale as the new federation president inspired hope of revival for the game. But that's hardly the case, following a fresh spate of leadership tussles bedeviling the federation labeled Feka Rugby. In mid-April, irate federation members led by one Jacques Ngongsu staged a coup in Yaoundé, announcing the overthrow of Likale and the setting up of a provisionary management board. The cause of disagreement, we gather, resides in claims that Likale recently received 11 million francs CFA in grants from the International Rugby Board and then lodged the money in his personal account. He also stands accused of unilaterally appointing his henchmen to posts of responsibility. And while the Jacques Ngongsu clique has gone ahead to elaborate preparatory plans for upcoming competitions, including qualifiers for the Rio Olympics, Likale, who qualifies the coup and non-event, has been combing Cameroon to encourage practice of the sporting discipline. In 2013, similar leadership wrangles culminated in Cameroon's suspension from all International Rugby Board events. Last year, the board readmitted Cameroon after the government assisted the federation in clearing millions owed the global body. There are emerging calls for urgent intervention by the National Olympic Committee to resolve the current crisis and prevent another avoidable suspension. In March next year, Cameroon is expected to play host to the Africa Zone qualifiers in boxing for the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Olympic Games. But at just under 1 year to go for the event scheduled for the capital Yaoundé, there are salient fears the country could see the hosting right withdrawn. The International Amateur Boxing Association AIBA, which granted Cameroon the competition hosting right at the detriment of Algeria, Morocco, South Africa and Kenya, is still waiting for the country to honor its financial engagements. After winning the bid to organize the qualifiers, Cameroon signed an undertaking obliging it to pay 100,000 Swiss francs, that's about 63.7 million francs CFA to AIBA as guarantee fees. But so far, and despite repeated AIBA reminders, including one served the country via the Boxing Federation FECABOX last March 25, not even a single franc has been deposited. And with the ultimate deadline for the country to respect the financial commitment coming up on April 30, there are surfacing worries over probabilities of another national embarrassment. Recently, Cameroon lost its right to organize the African Boxing Championship in August after the Ministry of Sports complained it lacked funds. The competition has since been relocated to Morocco.
Hello, I'm Bong Sisi, the youngest Cameroonian artist, and I love watching Green Turf. How about you?
See that little kid, Bong Sisi? Watch out, she's got talent, and my bet is that she'll just blossom to her full potential before very, very long. And now up next in Discovery, we blow the cover on how a Cameroonian martial arts artist, Fotso Shao, is making sense out of street fighting by concocting what he calls Fosharudo. Don't you budge an inch.
Nation of hustlers, Mr. Daddy Black, small boy.
Some observers argue that the prevalence of poverty across Cameroon is a major contributing factor to the immense creativity of its inhabitants. While many stick out on the global level as master scammers, others have been developing ways of decently earning respect through simple imagination. One of them is Fotso Shao, the creator of this rather hostile sporting discipline. The combat sport, baptized Fosharudo, is named after its inventor Fotso Shao, a native of the country's west region. It's actually been in existence since 15 years, but yet remains little known, and nonetheless Charles says he's been working all these years to not only popularize the sport, but fine-tune it to gain widespread acceptance across the country and why not beyond.
Je me suis beaucoup inspiré du combat de rue, qui est un peu différent du combat de compétition. J'ai essayé d'adapter les techniques à la réalité. Le principe déjà c'est santé-défense, ça c'est la base. Bon, après il y a le travail de l'énergie. Bon, aujourd'hui on était dans les techniques de base. Les techniques de base, quelques katas et l'application des techniques de base.
And behold, Fosharudo, a fusion of traditional wrestling, boxing, judo and jiu-jitsu with authentic kicks and punches, is a veritable test of strength and stamina. A combatant can face one or more adversaries and must prove his worth to succeed.
Une troisième personne.
Fosharudo is currently practiced in Cameroon under the canopy of the Kung Fu Wushu Federation, and its adepts say patience and not haste will ensure its spread in coming years.
Hey! Hey!
You be one mama, one mama, oh, oh, oh. Come on, come on, come on.
Until late last year, Leucadia Bong Ben was a busy bee, contributing several stories in every edition of the Boya-based bi-weekly The Post newspaper. And despite a recently cultivated penchant for science and environment news beats, her sports reports had long before fetched her wide-ranging reputation. It is probably on that score that the longtime journalist landed the much sought-after job as team press officer for Cameroon senior women's football selection, the Indomitable Lionesses. And so how does it feel like being team press officer?
It's quite a new challenge, I can say, a learning process. I'm used to chasing players myself and getting interviews.
But compliant with a new job description, most of that has changed. Leucadia says she does not necessarily need to chase players in quest of content for her news stories, but rather to serve as liaison and interface between the team, including players and officials, and the press. And she admits sometimes it's tough playing the role of middlewoman.
Now it means I have to equally arrange for others to interview the players, and sometimes it's difficult. You have to sometimes beg them to talk. There are times that they don't even just feel like talking. You have to do that work of liaison, beg them to talk, make sure that, because there's one thing people don't understand: when somebody comes to ask for a player to talk, it's not just because they have nothing to do. You have to make sure that the person talks, and it's equally for their own image. So I make sure that at least they attend to the press.
However, the native of Nso in the northwest region says she usually relies on her long years of experience as a reporter to surmount such challenges whenever they surface, and especially from nagging journalists in mad quest for scoops.
I wouldn't say it's been so easy, but it's not that difficult because I was there myself and I understand that I have to make them available to the press.
But within Cameroon's football context, where scandals over unpaid bonuses, grumblings over the choice of players and other in-house palavers between players and officials are almost everyday occurrences, do you censor what they tell the journalists?
The players, I believe they are mature, they know what they have to do, and they can talk for themselves. It's not like they just come there to say, okay, oh, we are having this problem or that problem. They won't do that. So they will come and talk, and they have internal issues they have to keep internally. so it's not a big deal.
And with the team press officer job for Cameroon's national selections traditionally reserved for journalists from the state-run Cameroon Radio and Television CRTV, Leo Kedia's designation is considered a harbinger of future hope for private media employees.
Three African women have been shortlisted to serve as central referees at the upcoming FIFA Women's World Cup next June and July in Canada. And among them is a Cameroonian, Neguel Therese Raiza Damgwa. If retained, the 34-year-old native of Garoua in the country's north region will boost Cameroon's presence at the biggest women's sports gathering alongside the indomitable Lionesses. Her pre-selection last week by FIFA is not inadvertent. Neguel Therese kicked off her football umpiring career way back in 2000 and over the years has relentlessly rubbed shoulders with male counterparts officiating Division 1 and 2 championship matches. In 2007, she was promoted to the rank of FIFA International Referee and only 1 year later served as central referee at the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup. Ever since, her dexterity, self-control and crave for accuracy have kept her in the limelight. Progressively, she has soared through the ranks and hardly misses any edition of the All-Africa Games as well as the African Women's Championships, which is yet to miss since Equatorial Guinea 2008. At the 2012 London Olympics, she exited the pitch blameless as central referee after an England versus New Zealand match, a fixture she equally blamelessly handled a year before at the FIFA Women's World Cup in Germany. And so, the skyrocketing Cameroonian old-timer may well be accompanied to Canada by two other central referees from the continent, including Gladys Lengwe from Zambia and Tafese Lydia from Ethiopia, as well as 6 assistant referees. Some 75 female referees, including 7 reserves from 49 countries worldwide, have been pre-selected for the Canada 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup.
Watch Green Turf with Divine.
Now, it doesn't really matter whichever way you look at it, but Ngando Piquet remains a very, very emblematic figure on Cameroon's football arena, both on and off the pitch. Now, we went out, myself and my colleague Marius Kosu, and we had this chat with Ngando Piquet. Of course, this is Profiles up next on Green Turf.
His pictures and images have made it to the front pages and primetime broadcasts of some of the world's most prominent news outlets, and most times without his consent. Ngando Piquet sticks out as an off-the-pitch football animation icon for many lovers of the king sport worldwide. But in sharp contrast to all that popularity, the pot-bellied celebrity was born in these rather shabby settings in Bonadibong in the heart of Douala some 55 years ago.
Je m'appelle Mouyebe Henri, le nom que mon papa m'a donné, mais le nom Ngando Piquet est venu de par ma tante, ma feu tante.
In fact, I am called Mouyebe Henri.
Alors quand je suis né, ma tante m'a récupéré, elle a dit, bon voilà, ça c'est mon...
The name Ngando Piquet came from my aunt who did not have children.
Elle s'appelait Ngando, elle a dit,
she took me like her son and named me Ngando after her father. Piquet came from Winston Piquet.
À partir du très jeune âge, 7, 8, 10 ans, je dansais.
Because I used to dance so well as a child.
Alors on m'a dit, toi tu ressembles à Winston Piquet, on va t'appeler Winston Piquet. Et par la suite, mes amis se sont mis à m'appeler Ngando Piquet.
Keen on writing his name on Europe's football rosters, the lad joined the immigration mass exodus, an endeavor that would prove futile at term.
J'étais à Yamoussoukro. Je faisais le lycée scientifique de Yamoussoukro. De temps en temps, en 84, les Lions sont venus jouer la Coupe d'Afrique des Nations. J'étais à Yamoussoukro.
I was in Yamoussoukro in the Ivory Coast when Cameroon came to play the African Cup of Nations in 1984.
Et le Cameroun a gagné la Coupe d'Afrique. Ça, c'est mon premier réflexe. Bien après, j'ai eu des perspectives. Je suis revenu au Cameroun et je suis remonté.
I was among those cheering the team. In fact, I had left Cameroon years before to go play professional football in Spain.
Je cherchais la vie.
But my dream did not come true. On my way back in Morocco, I dreamed I was wearing huge pants with green, red and yellow colors and cheering the Lions.
Par contre, j'ai un peu joué à Yamoussoukro, à SPTT de Yamoussoukro.
That is how I came to be mascot of the Cameroon national team.
Par la suite, alors, arrivé, quand je suis revenu de l'Espagne, je me suis arrêté au Maroc et la Mauritanie. À Mauritanie, un soir, je dormais dans un rêve comme ça. Je me voyais, comme je suis là maintenant, avec un gros caleçon aux couleurs nationales, vert, rouge, frappé d'une étoile. Bon, je me suis dit, j'ai trouvé ma voie.
And that's how it dawned on him that he had a different yet football-related calling. Ngando admits he was not the first football mascot, but insists he took the activity to higher heights. Pensively, he recalls a blend of burning passion and patriotism that motivated him to trek across borders to go cheer up the indomitable Lions. He says most often he had to scrape his meager savings to fund such undertakings, and above all, regrets that the poor performance of the indomitable Lions has had a heavy negative impact on him.
Je suis affecté comme tous les Camerounais, comme tous ceux qui aiment les Lions indomptables du Cameroun.
I am as affected as all those who love the Lions. It's the end of an era and Cameroonians should be patient.
Où il faut renouveler. Nous avons beaucoup joué, nous avons beaucoup.
We played well in the past and won much, while others were losing. We shall bounce back.
Il faut qu'ils soient patients. Nous allons revenir les vrais lions qui savent, qui connaissent.
The family head and father of several children says everybody is to blame for the protracting loss of form in the national team, including the Football Association, FECAFOOT, and the government. According to him, football has become a near religion in Cameroon, and the authorities cannot afford to run it like a neighborhood provision store. While waiting for the indomitable Lions to wake up from their performance slumber, Ngando's animation company has turned its focus from the football pitches to local ceremonies.
I
am an animator. Now I go anywhere my services are needed, like wedding ceremonies, the promotion of new products, trade fairs and so on. That is how I manage every day.
And he pleads alongside his relatives that the government should show him recognition for his patriotism and motivating role to the now bedridden national team.
Ngando Piquet is a symbol of patriotism, a great man who merits a lot of respect and recognition and assistance, and Cameroon owes him a lot for what he's done.
My Africa, I am here to help set you free. My Africa, everything you need is inside me. My Africa, open up your arms and let me in. Let the healing begin. My Africa, ooh, let the healing begin. My Africa.
And so it is another time of year when the troublemakers inundate the whole place. So be sure to run from trouble on the double every now and then. Until next week when we come to see each other once again, take care of yourself and Shalom.